Special event alert.
The Starbucks app was down, so I had to go wait in line. Which is excuse number 169 for being late for changeover, your weekly space news and variety show. I'm your host, Marty Smith, and I am joined by Mr. History, Eric Perrott.
I like that, man. You have to stand in line for a frickin' coffee at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Come on.
Nowadays.
Yeah.
That was like
I
$7.
think that's awesome.
Why wouldn't you?
Howdy, fellas.
And our man in the closet, Jake Wall.
As always, it's good to see you.
We're here to bring you the latest headlines and updates. I don't know. I can never. It's all pertinent to all Scorpions and to the other earthbound Starbucks drinking branches as well. So take your seats, get informed, and have a laugh as we present Late for Changeover.
Meow.
No, you got the right button. I did get it.
You got one button, you're like,
Well, I've got 3, and they're just labeled A, B, and C, and I don't remember what.
oh.
So, and I don't think about it for a week, and I come back in and I'm like,
We are a very technical group here, so I
oh, sure.
yeah,
Well,
we're so
Jake and I
advanced.
were U.S. Space Force. Of course we know what's going on. You know?
We're way advanced.
Superior in many ways.
You know, you've become, you're with every episode, you're
You're
ripping
right.
us a little bit more than normal. I'm
You're
not
right.
sure what's
Heck
going
yeah.
on with Mr. History.
It's
Heck yeah.
space, man. Just
How was your
So
Father's
helpful.
Day? Did you guys have a good
Father's Day was
Father's Day?
good. Yes, I did.
Do you find it's like me? Father's Day is one of those holidays that I thought about it afterwards. I was like, should I have sent something to Jake and Eric or not? And it seems weird to send like Happy Father's Day
Yeah.
to a friend of yours. I don't know why. It's just one of those weird ones that's like, hey, Happy Father's Day. And you're like, oh, thanks, buddy.
You don't Happy Father's Day back?
I
Happy Father's
do. I
Day.
do. He made the effort, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's like, should I call every father I know?
Yeah,
Wish him
I
happy
respond
Father's Day.
back to
Yeah,
those, but
really.
I don't think I've ever initiated
No,
a Father's
right.
Day one.
Like you said, hey, Merry Christmas or
Christmas, Happy
something like that.
Thanksgiving,
Yeah, to your friends.
Yeah, the big ones.
Father's Day's a tough one.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey.
I don't know.
It is.
Happy Flag Day, boys. We did it.
There we go.
It's not Flag Day. What was Trump?
Arbor
trying to push
Day's
for?
coming up, and I'm thinking of you.
Well, Trump was trying to push for like Liberty Day or whatever. What was
Yeah.
it for? He was trying to change Veterans Day, or he said
Oh.
he was going to. That was probably a troll, but he was going to change Veterans Day and Memorial Day to Liberty Day or something like that,
Yeah.
or Victory Day. Victory Day. That's what it was. Victory Day.
Mm. Mm.
Anyway, I know you support everything he does, Eric. So, but I sent you this already. This is what I got off of Space Force WTF moments. I thought it's such a good Father's Day pick. Whoever thought of that? At first, I was like,
Yep.
"This is so cheaply done," but then it's like the Army is giving the beer to his son, the Air Force,
Who's
feeding the bottle to the Space Force. And I was like, very good.
How
Navy
appropriate.
Marines doesn't even have that relationship.
Oh,
It's like,
I wonder how.
I don't know if
those
the
memes would
Marines
go.
were
I better
really-
research that.
I don't know if they were really born from the Navy, though. Not like the Air Force was of the Army. You know what I mean?
Well, I
Yeah,
think
well.
they direct from the Navy.
It
Are
just
they?
well, yeah, but I think it was just maybe it was the meanest Navy guys they could find. They're like,
Yeah.
we gotta figure out something to do with you, motherfuckers.
It was
You
the
can't-
pirate conscripts.
You can't
They're like,
keep-
hey, we can't really. We got to let them go on somebody before they get
like,
too pent up, boys.
you can't keep burning down the ship, fighting each other. We gotta find something for you guys to do.
You
Find
guys,
an
somebody else
outlet
to
for
fight.
this energy.
So
That's
maybe
probably true.
maybe that's how it was born. They're just like, get these fuckers off the ship,
Yeah.
please.
And that's how the base in Okinawa got founded.
Sleeping on people's balconies. We haven't had one of those
Balcony
stories in a
sleeping.
while, man.
I know.
Yeah, I miss those. Like I always say, Eric, go use your contacts. Get like the
those
blotter.
police blotters.
Get the
are
blotter for
fantastic.
Buckley, Pete, Fort Carson. Those were so good. And
You know-
I loved that they used to publish people's crimes
Oh,
in
yeah.
the base paper to deter people from doing it. That was
Yeah.
great. And it was
They don't do that
it was-
anymore.
No,
I was
it
like,
was-
what's the blotter? You can't find it anymore.
It was just all a laugh. It was like, oh, or you heard something.
Oh,
You're like, I wonder
man.
if it made the blotter. Oh, it sure did. Sure as shit did.
Well, see, back in my day, the blotter was an actual hard copy of 6 carbon copies.
Oh, you were
Right.
writing the blotter.
We were
We're
typing
just receiving it and giggling
Right.
at the
So once we
inappropriate
sent out
activity.
Right.
all the copies, man, then they'd go, okay, now we can publish it because it was actually in writing.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
it's
After you got
computerized.
your oh shit, what was that
Commodore
paper called?
64,
Well, no, but what was the paper in between? The ink paper
the
that
carbon,
copied it.
carbon paper.
Was it carbon paper? Yeah, carbon paper, right?
Yeah.
God,
That shit would
stuff
get
was-
everywhere.
Yeah, it
all
sure
your
would.
hands.
Did you ever run out of it and you had to reuse an old one?
Yeah, and by the
Yeah,
way,
I've done that
have you ever
too.
tried to erase 6 copies? 1, 2,
Oh.
3, 4. Fucking retarded shit.
That
No, I
opera-
haven't, Eric.
The opera reports are as close as you're going to get to
Yeah,
the blotter
Yeah.
these days.
yeah, that's about right. But no shame. Shame used to keep us all in line. No shame anymore. So
There were people walking out the front gate to change the days between DUIs sign.
oh yeah, you used to have to go do that, right?
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you
Usually
did
it's the
it,
guy that got the last DUI.
yeah, whoever the last guy
Right,
that got a
right,
DUI,
right.
even if it was like 30 days in between, he was out there every day
Yeah.
changing that sign.
I
Well, it's
can't.
never 30 days though.
Well, no, I can't quite tell though if they still have that policy at Buckley that if you got a DUI, you had to park off base and walk
Oh.
in.
Yeah,
Buckley's
I
a
don't know if they do anymore.
punisher because that's a long walk.
That's a long walk.
Yeah, that's a long walk. But and I see people walking, and I'm like,
You don't even offer a ride.
You a DUI guy?
You're like, shame, shame,
too much traffic, man. I don't want to put them down. How are they going to learn their lesson if I'm giving them a ride?
Marty's throwing lettuce out the window.
Oh my goodness.
But I think now they don't publish a blotter. They don't do any of that stuff because they want these people to re-up.
We're such a nicer, gentler.
Well, they got to keep them in. They got to keep them in, right?
Nicer, gentler.
All right, let's get to the news, shall we? All right, we first covered the first part of this story. I'm considering this the bookend part of this story. About a year ago is when maybe it was more than a year. I don't remember when Biden did it, but this is from Task and Purpose, and the Army bases, or Trump is reverting 7 Army bases to former names with new honorees, including a Delta Force soldier. So I thought whoever came up in that meeting of the minds to go, we can rename them. Here's what we do. And you start going through just reams and reams of history and award winners and all that stuff. And you're trying to find 7 exact names.
Just one specific match right there.
That's all you got to do, right? He's already done it for a couple, but here's the rest. I don't know if you've heard the rest.
Ridiculous.
So, President Donald Trump announced last Tuesday 7 Army bases will revert the names that once honored Confederate leaders, but will now take the names of 9 highly decorated U.S. Army soldiers of the same name. So whatever that idea was, corny, but all right. When you bring up the people that they're naming it after, I was like, that's a good save. That's a pretty good save, right? Not to mention the millions of dollars they got to respend to convert them back.
Yeah, dude.
We covered that too. How many millions it was to change all the names, right?
Yeah.
Trump
I think
said,
the way they're doing it's the right way, though. My opinion.
I think it's cool, yeah, because it's how can you fight the name now, right?
Yeah, but it's just such a waste again. I'm like, come on, guys.
I
hear our money that's constantly just getting chewed up.
You're not going to see it. Yeah,
How ironic is Jake thinks this is a waste of money, but he can have your freaking LSD chair ready for you any time of the week.
They're experimenting on those guys. That's I'm telling you.
It's relaxation.
I'm not justifying
LSD chair, man.
It's relaxation of the mind and the will.
Relaxation cubes.
That's right.
Are the modern day LSD experiments from Lackland.
I'm
telling you.
I think we're going to get comments over that. I'll tell you.
Good.
I hope so.
That's true.
Yeah. Trump said while speaking of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, for a little breaking news, I wish I could do Trump. I wish I could. For a little breaking news, we're also going to be restoring the names to Fort Pickett, Fort Hood, Fort Gordon, Fort Rucker, Fort Polk, Fort A.P. Hill, and Fort Robert E. Lee. We won a lot of battles out of these forts. It's no time to change. And I'm superstitious. I like to keep it going.
Keep it going.
Minutes after Trump's speech, the Army announced those names would now honor 9 soldiers from 5 conflicts whose names match the original Confederate leaders for each base. The name changes mirror the previous name reversions ordered by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Fort Liberty is Fort Bragg again. They already did that one. And Fort Moore in Georgia has gone back to being named Fort Benning. But both installations now honor 2 previously obscure soldiers of the same names from World War I and World War II.
They're not going to tell you that they're both from Mississippi and their relatives fought in the Civil War.
Exactly.
Well,
5th generation service member. Great grandpa.
that's like Lieutenant Dan, who had somebody die in every single war the U.S.
Exactly.
The new soldiers include 5 who received the Medal of Honor, 3 who were awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, and 1 who received the Silver Star. The bases and their new namesakes are Fort Gordon, Georgia, formerly Fort Eisenhower, will honor Master Sergeant Gary Gordon, perhaps the best-known soldier among the new namesakes. Gordon, a Delta Force soldier, was awarded the Medal of Honor after he volunteered to defend wounded crew members at a helicopter crash site during the 1993 Battle of Mogadishu.
Right on.
So Gary Gordon. Shugart was the other one, I think,
Yep.
right? He was the other one that went down. Fort Pickett, Virginia, renamed from Fort Barfoot. I don't even remember going over Fort Barfoot.
I don't either.
No.
It will be renamed for First Lieutenant Vernon W. Pickett, a Distinguished Service Cross recipient in World War II. Fort Hood, Texas, formerly Fort Cavazos, will be renamed for Colonel Robert B. Hood, a Distinguished Service Cross recipient in World War I.
Nice.
Fort Lee, Virginia, formerly Fort Gregg-Adams, will be named in honor of Medal of Honor recipient Private Fitz Lee, a black Buffalo soldier for his heroism during the Spanish-American War.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who sent the letters to Cavazos and the other guy and was like, hey, we know you had a base. We were honored that you gave us our name. But we don't want that trash anymore.
Taking it back.
Taking it back.
Do you want the old signs? Because we're just going to throw them out if you don't want them.
Yeah.
Can you come here and pick them up? Because that'll cost.
We're not
exactly. Like, geez, guys.
Fort Polk, Louisiana, formerly Fort Johnson, will be named in honor of Silver Star recipient General James Polk for his gallantry in action as commanding officer of the 3rd Cavalry Group during operations across Europe in World War II. Fort Rucker, Alabama, formerly Fort Novacell. I do remember that one because I couldn't really pronounce that one.
Retarded name.
Will be named after.
It was a retarded name for the base.
Not only do you have a retarded name
for the base,
but you also have no base.
It just doesn't sound right for a base. That's all.
They're like, hey, Mr. Novacell, I found this new podcast. It's called Late for Changeover. You want to listen to it? That's retarded.
The retarded name.
Name does not sound good for the base.
Fort Rucker will be named after Captain Edward Rucker, who was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross in World War I as a pilot for missions over France.
There you go.
Fort A.P. Hill. This is the toughest one to stomach. Fort A.P. Hill, who was, I think, a Confederate general at Gettysburg, A.P. Hill. Fort A.P. Hill, Virginia, formerly Fort Walker, will be named for 3 Civil War Medal of Honor recipients. Private Bruce Anderson is going to be the A. First Sergeant Robert A. Pinn, P-I-N-N, will be the P. And Lieutenant Colonel Edward Hill will be the Hill, A.P. Hill.
And they were all Yankees.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
The 3 have to be, right?
Well, it does say the 3 earned the Medal of Honor at different engagements at Fort Fisher, North Carolina, Chapin's Farm, Virginia, and Cold Harbor, Virginia. So they're all Medal of Honor winners. All right. A total of 9 Army bases that bore the names of Confederates were renamed in 2022 and 2023 following recommendations by an official naming commission. So they just undid all that. And I like it. I like the new name. I'll never remember them, but at least
any of the Confederate general statues and put them back out in the parks and stuff.
I don't know. They should have never taken. That's so lousy. I mean, that's such a crazy, out of control thing they did. I get what they're.
I mean, how much time and money did they spend on this again?
Well,
they just got done spending a shit ton of time and money, and then now they did it again. It's so annoying.
Well, sure, but we've seen that over. Maybe it was end of year funds. They got to do it. So they're like,
oh yeah,
use it or lose it. Well, what do you want to do?
Color money. We couldn't have spent it on actually bullets and beans,
bonuses, or increase in pay.
More hallucination chairs.
3.8% increase in pay. So. All right. Well, I thought we'd close the book on that until God knows what they do.
Until next time.
Until they start in on the Air Force. Who knows? I didn't even erase that line from last week. But this is a new thing by the Army, and I never heard about it, but I thought it would be entertaining to see. This is from, or to hear about. This is from taskandpurpose.com again. The Army is bringing in big tech executives, and they're going to promote them to lieutenant colonel.
Immediately.
I don't understand that at all.
Well, I don't either, so let's find out.
Oh, that's because those guys need big money to come over.
Well, they
share
don't.
Their knowledge.
It did list their salaries in here, so we'll see. 4 senior executives of tech giants like Meta and Palantir, are being sworn into the Army Reserves as direct commissioned officers at the unusually high rank of lieutenant colonel. What do you mean unusually high rank? As part of a new program to recruit private sector experts to speed up tech adoption. I don't know how that's going to do that, but they don't really explain it. Anyway, let's move on.
What about all the majors who are not going to make lieutenant colonel now because of these guys?
They're like, this fucking guy.
And I'm like, that's just a bunch of horseshit, man.
Well, I don't know how this works. It's part of some certain program that I'll explain here. The Army calls a program to recruit Silicon Valley executives Detachment 201, the Army's Executive Innovation Corps. One of the executives, Andrew Bosworth of Meta, posted on X that the quote-unquote 201 moniker was a nod to an HTTP coding command in which a 201 response indicates the creation of a new programming resource. You got that, Eric?
So you're going to have
HTTP.
Are you going to have a direct link to massive corporations into the military, like direct line now?
Well, I don't know. I wish it
because they're Army Reserve.
Yeah, it doesn't really explain it.
So Palantir's a massive contractor, with the military.
They've done something with Meta or Facebook too. I thought they'd signed on with them too. So anyway, each of the 4 who were set to be sworn in last Friday, arrived with decades of experience in some of Silicon Valley's largest and most innovative companies. The 4 are, Shyam Sankar, who is the chief technology officer for Palantir. Andrew Bosworth, chief technology officer of Meta. Kevin Wheel, chief product officer of OpenAI. And Bob McGrew, an advisor at Thinking Machines Lab and former chief research officer for OpenAI. The Detachment 201 program is aimed at bringing in part-time advisors from the private sector to help the service adopt and scale commercial technology like drones and robots into its formations. Okay. But it seems like, why didn't you just hire them to be like contractor advisors?
Yeah.
Why the lieutenant colonel rank?
Or why not establish a contract and let these companies bid on it like we have been? Why do we?
Could be. Yeah, right. The idea of incorporating private sector expertise is right out of Ukraine, as soldiers there who are engineers or computing scientists in their day jobs are MacGyvering makeshift drones or 3D printing parts to use on the front lines against Russia. I don't know how that's a direct comparison, but that's what they use in the article. Army officials say the new officers will get at least a taste of traditional Army training before filling the roles as tech-focused policy advisors. Colonel Dave Butler, the spokesman for Army Chief of Staff General Randy George, told Task and Purpose that the 4 executives will get up to 2 weeks of online and face-to-face training at Fort Benning. Online. So they get 2 weeks of online and face-to-face training at Fort Benning, Georgia on physical fitness, marksmanship, and basic soldier tasks, such as Army customs and courtesies, rank structure, and uniform wear. 2 weeks, that's enough.
That's enough.
The 4 will not attend the Army's full 6-week direct commissioning course at Fort Benning, a common but not universal training program for new officers. So the 4 are also multimillionaires several times over. All right. Here, hold on. Let me show you the first two pictures of these guys. So these are the first two. All right. Andrew Bosworth on the left is one of 4 of the most senior executives at Meta who report directly to CEO and founder Mark Zuckerberg. Bosworth's salary in 2023 was just under $1 million. But like most Meta executives, he received stock awards between 2018 and 2023 that the company valued at over $75 million in 2024. So good on you, Andrew.
This guy's going to get tired.
And he's going to be a lieutenant colonel.
Like, I'm done.
And like, hey, Andrew, we need you for a mid-shift. He's like, nope, I'm out.
This experiment was fun, fellas, but I'm done.
The guy on the right, Shyam Sankar, the chief technology officer for Palantir, is that right? Was the firm's 13th employee. In 2024, he sold Palantir shares worth $367 million.
Wow.
All right.
I don't understand this.
I don't either.
Why give these people military rank?
I don't get it. I mean, make them a GS or something, but I don't know why they need military rank. The article doesn't really explain it. They don't need the money, but they're a direct line into corporate and military. And so they're just going to do, and then they hold rank in the military, so authority in the military. They're just going to do their thing, and then they got to go. Oh, I gotta fly to Fort Hood, go do my UTA as a lieutenant colonel. I'll be back on Monday. Bob McGrew on the left, who advises Thinking Machines Lab, is an alumnus of Palantir and OpenAI. No salary was listed for him. But Kevin Wheel on the right, his resume includes work at several major tech companies like Microsoft, Twitter, Instagram, Meta, Strava, Planet Labs, and Cisco. In 2014, 2015, he cashed out shares in Twitter worth at least $15 million and holds Planet Labs shares worth close to $7 million.
Maybe the Army thinks they're going to subsidize what's going on with their own money.
Oh, maybe. They're like, hey, we don't even have to pay these guys.
We'll save a little bit, and they'll spend their own.
Yeah, I can't imagine these guys are going to file a travel voucher when they get back from UTA, and they're like, hey, I never got a meal. I had to pay for my own meal. What's going on?
I
This
don't
makes
understand
no
this.
sense. Yeah, it doesn't make any
The
sense.
Detachment 201 program follows Army Chief of Staff General George's announcement of the Army Transformation Initiative and his Transforming in Contact effort, which has smaller prototype units testing new tactics and tech like unmanned aerial systems and electronic warfare jammers in realistic combat training scenarios. The Army said in a release their swearing in is just the start of a bigger mission to inspire more tech pros to serve without leaving their careers, showing the next generation how to make a difference in uniform. Now are you kidding me? Who else are you going to inspire to go join the reserves and are like, oh, we can't make you all lieutenant colonels? Hey, it's like, oh, forget it then.
It makes no sense.
The idea of having
I don't know.
The quick response, rapid response between military unit and tech and development, that's kind of cool. But this whole line is really weird. Like
it is. I agree. And I've heard other programs where they're bringing them on as like a GS civilian, almost to do what you do, Jake. It's like, oh, I'll go down. I'll be the expertise on the ground, showing these guys how to do it. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But this whole issue,
rank.
Well,
I don't know. Is it just publicity
weird,
or
isn't it?
what is it? Right? I don't know.
Well, and again,
or are we just too
what are
suspect of
your peers-
everything?
Yeah.
Are we
Well, what
just
are your
too
peers thinking
suspicious?
about it?
Maybe.
What are your peers thinking? Like I said, you've got you're a major, and that lieutenant colonel slot is now not available for you. I think that's crap.
I think
to a
they're
guy who's
starting
going
up
to get
their own
2 weeks
squadron.
of training.
They could, yeah. I mean, I hope they don't take somebody's spot. You know, I can't
Aren't they
imagine
just starting up their own squadron? Wasn't that what the 201 was?
They're all
So
part
you're
of
going to
this
have
group.
a squadron, or group of just these guys.
It's not like you're going to show up for in brief at the UTA. Like, hey, we want you all to meet Lieutenant Colonel Bob over here. He makes $34 million a year, and he's going to be working on robots. So,
or like, are they like whiskeys? Like they just go out and in bed with a unit and see how they can innovate.
Make sense. That would make sense.
You're like, all right, this is what's your job. What are we doing? How could we help you immediately? Like,
go. And they're like, hey, before
and
you
then they come back and they develop that with civilian
that makes
tech,
a lot of sense.
Like a direct,
and then it's just right.
Where's
it's like
the
a
bid? Where's the
role.
contracts? Is this
it's a tech advisor role? Right.
Says the guy that doesn't know how to put his name tag on straight on his uniform because he only went through 2 weeks of training. I don't know.
Well, I bring this picture back up, and Andrew Bosworth on the left. Is he all of a sudden got a shaving waiver?
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah. What are they going to tell him? They're like, hey, you're going to have to lose the beard, sir. He was like, really? And you got to finish your all your training before you go home. If you don't mind.
This makes
your
no
CBTs.
sense.
Oh, maybe they'll innovate a way around CBTs.
Would that be worth it? That would be worth it, man. Fuck.
They're like, these don't work at all.
They walk in and they see what we're using. They're gonna like laugh us off the planet, man.
Yeah.
But that would be great. It's like, let me take care of this. Let me give you something in an hour that will take care of what you've been doing for the last 10 years on ancillary training.
It makes no sense to me.
I
don't know.
Feels fishy.
Well, I agree. We'll see how it fleshes out. Maybe we'll get another story, I don't know, in a year where they go, remember that program we had for getting these guys Lieutenant Colonel? That was a huge failure.
Military coup that we just did. Like, these guys from Late for Changeover really called that.
Now they did, damn it. That's worth another 5 subscribers.
Oh my goodness. You know it.
So if in 5 to 10 years there's a corporate military coup, you know who
got
gets credit.
You heard it here, baby.
Right here. Right here.
Yep. Late for changeover.
All right, let's do a third story that'll make you feel good. It's great. God, it goes into. It doesn't really go into history, so your history is still safe.
It dabbles. It dabbles.
That's nice.
But they made this from Air and Space Forces magazine. A new Normandy Memorial honors the 8th Air Force Airmen crucial to D-Day victory. Did you guys ever end up watching? What was the series on Apple?
Yeah, the bomber units.
Yeah, what was it called?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it was great. I
have to look it up. Masters of the Air.
Masters of the Air. That's it. Masters of the Air.
That was really
good. So this is pretty cool. And they have the life size. I'll show you a picture here in a second. For nearly a century, the Normandy battlefield has been a place to honor the brave soldiers who stormed Fortress Europe on June 6, 1944. But in all those years, nothing has stood to memorialize the airmen of the 8th Air Force. I wonder if that's a harbinger of a draft selection later. Airmen of the 8th Air Force who were charged with destroying the German Luftwaffe to clear the way for the invasion force until now. A new 8th Air Force memorial tucked behind the D-Day landing beaches immortalizes those airmen in bronze 81 years after they defeated the Nazi Air Force, suffering tens of thousands of combat deaths along the way. All right, this picture here is from behind, but it's a really good picture. So it's 4 figures like they're walking out to the flight line.
I think that is cool, man.
They didn't have a great one in the front, so I went to another website and I got who they're doing that. So I'll leave that up there and explain how this was made. A little background first. As Allied forces planned Operation Overlord in late 1943, U.S. airmen took on a no-fail mission, Operation Point Blank. It sought to take control of Nazi airspace as well as to weaken Germany's fighter fleet and its manufacturing base to give D-Day a better chance of success. So basically, for the last 2 years, this Operation Point Blank was first, it was all about the bombing, and then the fighters came in. So this wasn't just like a 5-day operation. This was the whole goal of the 8th Air Force, was this Operation Point Blank. The air war shifted in the Allies' favor in late February 44 when the 8th, along with the newly activated 15th Air Force and the Royal Air Force, renewed its deep strike raids into Germany, later known as Big Week. By then, the Allies had enough long-range P-51 fighter aircraft to accompany heavy bombers all the way to their objectives. Can you imagine the Nazi pilots going up and they're like, okay, these guys are all unprotected again. And now all of a sudden, you got 20, 25 P-51s with them, and like,
yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
Operation Point Blank strategy changed when Major General James Jimmy Doolittle took command of the 8th that January. In early 44, Doolittle ordered his fighter aircraft to go on offensive against the Luftwaffe fighter force. Doolittle's new standing order for fighter pilots: your job is not to escort the bombers. Your job is to kill the Luftwaffe.
That's awesome.
8th Air Force fighter formations began to hunt down German fighters, destroying them in the air and on the ground. A vicious air battle ensued over the skies of Germany, inflicting heavy losses on the Luftwaffe. You don't hear much. Most of you hear about the bombing campaign.
Yeah.
And you always wonder, it's like, where did they go? Once we landed on Normandy, it's like, where was their air power? It kind of wasn't around anymore. This is why.
Yeah.
As organizers looked to capture that history, they quickly decided the memorial needed to represent the people that made up the 8th Air Force: a commander, a fighter pilot, a bomber pilot, and a gunner. So they're all different roles in those 4 standing there.
That's cool.
After some debate, the memorial would feature 4 life-size statues of Doolittle, Colonel Don Blakesley, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Rosie Rosenthal, and Sergeant Maynard Snuffy Smith. I've got a kind of a generic picture here, almost like a planning photograph of what they made. So they have a gunner, a bomber, a fighter pilot, and the commander Doolittle.
That's cool.
Let's see. They picked Doolittle. That was T. Michael Buzz Mosley, a former Air Force Chief of Staff who helped bring the memorial to fruition, said, "We picked Doolittle. That was easy. He was a commander. For the fighter pilot, it was Colonel Don Blakesley. He flew more combat in World War II than anybody. Blakesley's 4th Fighter Group killed over 1,000 German planes."
Wow. See, you never hear anything. I've never heard of that. That's
I
cool.
know. Lieutenant Colonel Rosenthal was selected as the bomber pilot. The lawyer turned aviator was shot down twice. Remember how it was 25 missions and you could go home? This guy was shot down twice over 52 combat missions.
Wow.
And later served as an assistant to the U.S. prosecutor at the Nuremberg trials. Sergeant Smith was chosen to represent the airmen who manned the bomber's multiple machine guns. He was a ball gunner on a B-17 Flying Fortress. Smith became the first enlisted airman in the U.S. Army Air Forces to receive the Medal of Honor for valor in World War II. I should have looked that up. I'll look it up before the next one because I'd
so
like
you
to
know what's ridiculous is we always use that Sergeant Snuffy as a kind of
Snuffy!
a derogatory term.
Yes, and that was his nickname.
I never understood why, because I was like, this guy is all badass.
Snuffy was a
Why
badass.
are
He
we
won the Medal of
trashing
Honor.
on him? Yeah.
I knew about him. We'd heard him through him, your PME classes and stuff. Maynard Smith.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the statue. And then Dulo. The statues themselves also. This is kind of cool too. The statues themselves also contain pieces of B-17 and P-51 aircraft that were donated by collectors.
Oh yeah.
Inside Doolittle is a piece of a P-51 and a B-17. Inside Rosenthal and Smith, there are pieces of a B-17, and inside Blakesley is a piece of a P-51.
That's so cool.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
I like that.
Past and present converged at the June 5th dedication ceremony in Normandy as current Air Force officials and Doolittle's relatives for the statue's unveiling. So
I would have liked to have been there for that. That would have been awesome.
Oh, God. Yeah. And this is, I didn't get a better one because they took it from the back. And the front one, it was just like their faces in a line. But again, like the Korean Memorial that we've mentioned on here before, life-size statues. Kind of neat to walk among those, and then they put them on at Normandy, so that's pretty neat.
That's way cool.
We need a late for changeover tour of this.
No doubt.
I agree.
Can you guys cover the cost for that?
To donate? Donations are accepted on our Patreon.
Oh yeah.
So we definitely need to go look at that.
Eric,
send all these three crusty bastards to look at this cool statue in Normandy.
Well, and until we do that, right? If you crowdfund us to go over there, we promise we'll podcast from there. That's a guarantee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as a bonus, we'll get Eric some bronze body paint. And you go over to his OnlyFans, and
that's
you can
the OnlyFans account.
Recreate each one of those poses. So
I wear my beret,
and that's it. Man. Maybe your Mae West, your life preserver. But that's it. So if that's not worth funding, I don't know what is.
I think it's a great idea. Please give. Please give.
Yeah, please give. Please watch. Please
for
give.
The children.
All right, gentlemen, you ready? It is time to revisit the 2025 military draft. All right. Look, I even got a picture for this one. Look at that.
Yeah.
I like it.
That is AI produced. So it's time once again for U.S. military draft. Oh, I forgot to do that. This week is going to be rounds 3 and 4. Well, we will be drafting our naval and air forces. But just a quick recap of last week's. Round 1 was commanding generals. Jake, with the number 1 pick overall, picked Hap Arnold. All right.
Happy.
I picked George Patton, and Eric picked Blackjack Pershing.
Ew.
Jake, I can't remember who you took for your ground forces because it was my choice and I couldn't remember.
Don't even play it off, man.
But for round 2,
submarine.
Jake picked. Who'd you pick? I told you I can't remember.
First Division.
Oh, I thought you were joking. First Marines.
No, First Marines Division. That's right.
Yeah.
I picked and scrambled with the 101st Airborne Division. No offense, Screaming Eagles, but I couldn't think of anybody else. And then Eric picked the Big Red One, the 1st Infantry Division. So the draft order this week is reverse of last week. Eric, you'll go first, then Jake, you're second, and I am third. So let's get on to round 3. Look at this one. Oh, round 3, Naval Forces. All right. And let's see. First up is Boy, if I ever had a producer.
Yes.
And Eric, you're picking first, so you're on the clock.
So,
Oh,
I like it.
That's
So,
button number 2. So.
I found this a little difficult. So
Yeah.
I went with the very, very in your face. This is the guys. So I'm going with USS Enterprise CV6.
I
That
knew
was-
it. Of course, yes, that's a big
Yeah.
pick, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to, right? The 7th Enterprise CV6
Right.
was laid down July 16th, 1934. It launched in October of 36, commissioned in May of 38. Enterprise was the most decorated warship of World War II, earning 20 battle stars, 3 more than any other ship. In addition, Enterprise was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation and the Navy Unit Commendation, becoming the only carrier awarded both the PUC and the NUC for service in World War II. I could go on and on, but I think we understand Enterprise was huge during World War II, so I'm not going to go into its theatrics.
Well, Enterprise also won our carrier MVP, right?
Yep.
So,
yep. And this
I
would be
knew you were going to take.
I broke them down.
I
broke them down from number 1, 2, 3, 6 was the most decorated, which was the
all
7th.
right.
So that's my selection.
Eric's pick. USS Enterprise.
Oh man.
All right. Jake, you are on the clock.
Well,
I'm
man,
pleased.
so I took a whole different direction.
Don't worry about it. So did I.
From him, because I just went with the newest, the biggest, the best.
Oh.
And I was like Carrier Strike Group 12.
12.
The Gerald R. Ford. They have no history at all.
Ford, I know,
The
but
Gerald
they're the
Ford.
mightiest ever.
But that thing looks awesome.
Oh yeah.
Like just looking at the pictures of this thing, and then I just got distracted by how many other ships are in a Carrier Strike Group.
Right.
You've got two combat attack subs with just about every single one of them.
Right.
You
got everything you need.
Multiple fighter squadrons, that kind of thing, just plucked in there. There's all kinds of support. There's all kinds of everything around them. It was just, I totally got distracted and was like, newest, biggest, best. This is awesome.
That's fair.
Well, and I kept thinking group when we talk about more than one.
Yeah.
Right. So Enterprise was a group too back then.
Yeah.
It was a carrier. It was a carrier group.
group.
Yeah, it's a carrier group.
Yeah.
So, Jake, what is your choice then? How do you phrase it?
I just chose Carrier Strike Group 12.
Do you know how many planes that thing carries? Did you happen to look?
Oh man, here we go. Come on.
Details, baby. Details matter.
That should be like
why are you scratching the surface? I had the list up and I forgot.
Carrier Strike Group 12 is Jake's pick in round 3. All right. I'm on the clock. And the pick is in. I choose Task Force 77. This task force served as the aircraft carrier battle strike force of the United States 7th Fleet for decades, from the final year of World War II until 2000. Wow. It played a crucial role in providing air support and performing interdiction missions in the Korean War and Vietnam War, operating extensively in the Gulf of Tonkin. So my pick is Task Force 77. There should be more oohs and ahs from you.
This is, what movie was that based on? Are they the ones that staged it, or are they not?
Staged? What do you mean?
Staged the start of the Vietnam War.
Oh, you mean the Tonkin Gulf incident? They moved in there.
Hey, it's the Gulf
in there after.
The Gulf of Tonkin, by the way. It's the Gulf of Tonkin. Tonkin.
The Gulf of
What did I say? Did I say
you said
it
talking of golf or something like that?
I did not. I can replay this.
We'll record it.
I said the Gulf. Why would I say? What am I, Yoda?
Yeah,
you were just then. You were then.
All right, round 3 is concluded. Let's go on to Round 4.
Hey, just FYI, I think we need to all three of us go back on our selections and identify all the parts of your group, what exactly it entails. Because mine will be different because it's a World War II vintage kind of group. It probably won't have subs like you guys do. So I'm interested to hear what those groups consist of.
Yeah.
They're awesome. Research. Here we go. Here.
I got Task Force 77. Went for 50 effing years. Right?
Okay.
Okay.
And the men and women who are pulling all that shifts. Well, yeah, that's unbeatable.
Fair enough.
Round 4, Air Forces.
Woo!
First up, Eric Perrott.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am going a little bit unconventional here.
Ooh.
And when I tell you my selection,
I'm not sure what that means, but
you're going to go, I understand. So my selection,
all right.
The Flying Tigers.
Oh,
that was mine.
Tigers.
That was a good one.
Was that yours too, Marty? He literally
it was in the top 3. It was the top 3.
Come on,
you've got to like go a mother on that.
With the AVG, right? Come on.
I do have to applaud that.
Eric, you know what you just did?
You
know who the modern day Flying Tigers are? A Space Force C-Spock operation. They're a Space Force squad and it's their heritage.
That's terrible.
That's right.
I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about these guys.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
You unwittingly love the Space Force.
Come on. Now, let me ask you something. Do you really believe Pappy Boyington would have been in the Space Force? Because he was a flying tiger, but he would have been in Space Force.
He was a flying tiger as a captain, I think, right?
Right. Well,
lieutenant or a captain or something.
It's interesting.
They were hardcore, though.
All the Flying Tigers, none of them were active duty military. They were all volunteers. Now, they had been prior military. Most of them resigned commissions and came on over. Yeah. But they were pretty much mercenaries, man. So for America, the final days of 1941 were among the darkest of World War II. Pearl Harbor was in flames. The Philippines were in the crosshairs. All that was happening. So America desperately needed the heroes. It would find them in the Flying Tigers. The small group volunteer pilots from the United States seemed to be the only ones striking back against Japan, sweeping enemy bombers from the skies in faraway China. Until that moment, few at home had ever heard their name, but suddenly everyone was asking who the Flying Tigers were. Just like the Royal Air Force pilots who saved the UK during the Battle of Britain, the Flying Tigers became a heroic symbol for America when it seemed like all was lost. Today, the Flying Tigers are perhaps the best-known American fighter aircraft group in history. Their name still resonates, just as the image of the sharp-faced P-40s, which had become the icon of American air power. And I want to give you, there's 12 things that I bet you didn't know about them, which is pretty cool.
12?
I'll make it quick.
Night.
The Flying Tigers, number one, the Flying Tigers were not part of the U.S. military. Again,
no, they were like mercenaries, right?
American volunteer group. That's correct. 2, they were actually all mercenaries / bounty hunters. They were given money. They received monthly salaries.
Right.
Ranging from $250 for ground crewmen and $750 for flight leaders.
Yeah, they paid Ben Affleck to go over there, and that's where he was first flying.
No, not as a Flying Tiger. He went to the UK. Come on.
Yeah. Okay, whatever.
You're going to love this one, guys. This one's hard to beat. The Flying Tigers never lost an air battle.
That's a good one.
Never. Yeah, like Alexander the Great, a mere handful of heroes and heroic units throughout military history, the Flying Tigers were never defeated in combat. The pilots of the AVG fought around 50 major aerial battles and never lost one.
And they were flying P-40s, right?
P-40s, yep.
God.
And you're going to love this part too. They were only in action for how long? How long do you think they were in action for?
6 months.
7 months.
7 months. Oh my God.
7 months. They were led by a farmer, Claire Chenault. The Flying Tigers weren't allowed to refer to themselves as pilots. Yeah. Claire Chenault. Yep.
Yeah.
The White House disavowed involvement in the Flying Tigers. They weren't part of them. They didn't own them. The Flying Tigers struck America's first blow against Japan, which was I thought it was actually Doolittle, but Homeland.
Were they based out of China?
They were.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then finally, the Flying Tigers altered the course of the war in China.
God,
so
that's crazy.
That's my selection. Those guys are badass.
All right, good selection. I think that is good. I like it.
That's good.
God damn it, Jake. I mean, Eric, that was good.
Yep. And they're Space Force currently. So
Jake, you're on the clock.
All right. Since Eric stole my actual choice, again,
this is going to be either
I'm
you're
going
to F me or
I'm going to set this scene.
Oh no.
Vietnam War, we're pushing, we've got air superiority, and then all of a sudden Vietnamese are assisted by Russia. They have SAMs. We no longer have air superiority.
No.
None of our cargo, none of the delivery, nothing is getting through. Nothing. Because we don't know how to deal with SAMs. Enter the wild weasels.
The F-100s? Is that
originally F-100s and then F-4 Phantoms?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
They took literally flew aircraft and modified them in California to beep on one side of the cockpit on which side you're getting alerted from.
Really? They had like stereo thing, which
they
side
had
it
a
was stereo
stereo thing, and they're like, "Quick, look that way."
Wow.
So
that's
what they would
badass.
do is fly in teams. One's super low, and one's pops up, gets engaged by the SAMs. They say it's on our left side. This guy pops up and tries to shoot them before they fire.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And so they're doing this number. And so it's a combination of electronic warfare, a combination of crazy ass tactics.
And balls about this big.
Yes. and like, okay,
you becoming the lazy pig.
Who's the guinea pig today?
Yeah.
And then
wow.
The innovation they showed to solve a problem, and then they're constantly working on getting it developed. So
I like that one.
Cool. Yeah.
I like that one.
So what are you choosing? What are they called? What are the? What's the name?
That is the Wild Weasels. Yeah, Wild Weasel program, Wild Weasel Squadron. You guys have seen the patch. If it literally looks like a horrible animation of a weasel getting electrocuted.
Hey, didn't they also fly?
He's like an S or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they fly an airplane where the pilot and the I don't know what he would call side by side, big canopy?
Oh no, these guys are the F-4 Phantoms.
Right?
Those are your intruders. So that was like the secondary level of the Wild Weasels. They developed the first electronic warfare
when they had
stuff.
like baby electronics, compared to what we advanced to.
Oh yeah.
And these guys were just like, hey, if you pop up and he takes a shot at you, I'll know exactly where he's shot.
And like nowadays, you light up, we can immediately track you and jam you, right? Yeah. Like, so you're getting jam tracked, and that all came about because of these crazy bastards.
I bet these were a couple guys or four guys, however, I don't know if they were two-seaters or not, that came up with this tactic and said, let's just try it. It worked, and then they told everybody else about it. This didn't come down from on high.
No.
This is like,
no.
Look what we did, and this worked like twice last week.
If we could figure out which way it was coming from first, then we'd have a better shot of getting it.
That's so ballsy, man. God.
I love those levels of ballsy innovation. Like,
but it's not the
first
only
parachute tester guys were insane, right?
Crazy.
They're like Air Force guys in Texas. They're like, we think we can solve this.
Or those guys are like, do you know what Mach is? And they're like, no, what's that mean? They're like, you're breaking the sound. How about that?
It's a theory.
Fuck, I'll do it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
You could just pop. Yeah, probably not.
Right.
Okay.
But they also had, I think, a different Air Force that would allow them to try stuff, back then. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it's just, these are the guys that tried stuff and worked. There were 100 other guys who tried different tactics and it didn't work. They did not make the history books.
No, exactly.
Maybe that's it. But still, ballsy guys. Good pick. Good pick, Jake. I like it. All right, good. You guys went way too deep on that because I got you beat.
Marty's
so
like
my
F-22.
I considered that. I did consider that. But my pick for Air Forces is the 94th Fighter Squadron Hat in the Ring Squadron, right?
Hat in the ring.
Famous from World War I,
Yep.
where they were called the Spats, all the way to 2000, or to today, actually. So this squadron started at Kelly Field in Texas. They flew, Eddie Rickenbacker was part of it.
Yeah.
They flew in World War I. They flew in World War II. Let's see. This history is tough to read through, but basically they fought in everything, and now they fly the F-22. That's the hat in the ring. That is the patch. I should have taken a picture of it. That's the patch where it has like the Uncle Sam top hat upside down with the ring around it.
Yeah.
So one of the most fighter wings out there. So that is my choice. The 94th Fighter Squadron.
That's a great one.
It's good.
That was up there. Like, here's what's funny is I looked at both of those ones too. I'm like, gosh dang it.
Yeah, that's a good one though. But you have an affinity for that Wild Weasel.
I do love that. It's EW.
Yeah.
That's fun.
That's pretty badass. So I'm glad you stayed true to your heart. You know, that'll make it more fun when Eric's friend with the AI pits all these things together somehow. I don't know how.
Didn't Hat in the Ring Squadron have a couple of confirmed kills with that F-22?
Yeah, I think so.
A couple of years back.
If I wasn't rushed onto this podcast tonight, I would have found that.
It was. Don't worry, it was just the balloons. Okay, it was just the spy balloons. So
that's all right. They're on the cockpit.
Call that a kill.
Hat in the Ring, still in the ring,
killing balloons, man.
It would be interesting to see when was the last hostile shootdown we had. Was that Bosnia? Had to be Bosnia, right? I mean, unclassified shootdown. Let's put it that way. I'm sure there have been, but they haven't released it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. I mean, you certainly would have thought something like in.
It's got to be Bosnia,
Afghanistan, or Iraq.
Oh. I don't know. Did they even get anything up over there?
Yeah.
What is Afghanistan flying, Eric?
I'm talking about during the war. You still had Iraq bad guys flying shit.
Fair.
Well, Afghanistan's flying C-130s in our helicopters right now.
Well, that's
a good point.
Yeah.
They're like, look at all this shit.
We got an Air Force, boys.
The Afghanistan Air Force, but you were definitely fighting. You know, Iraqi fighters got some out.
It would be interesting. I'll look that up. Last time we shot down a hostile aircraft. I mean, maybe it was Top Gun Maverick. Maybe that was the last time we shot down.
That counts.
You know,
just for giggles, I want to tell you what my other Navy was going to be.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Hornet.
No, you're going way back. This is going to USS Constitution.
Oh man!
Here we go.
Think about it, but we're talking about right
dominant.
And it's still the spirit. Day is in service,
spirit.
Man.
That's right.
Yeah,
the fighting spirit. Yeah,
that bad boy's still in service.
Oh,
still have
a tour boat. Come on.
It is now, but back then it was. You know, once we got independence, man, we needed a Navy, and that was one of the first ships built to protect our borders, man.
And then the Monitor came around.
Come on, man. I thought that was a good story about it. I read the U.S. Constitution.
That was good.
Cool.
All right. So,
hey, Marty, 2017, FA-18 Super Hornet shot down a Syrian Su-22.
Whoa.
In 2017.
There you go.
I heard it's not related, but it's sort of related, but it's not related. Thanks for looking that up. That was the last one in 2017. Huh?
That's the last one I found.
But the planes they used as the 5th gen fighters in Top Gun Maverick were Su-27s, I think.
Privately owned?
Yeah, no, there weren't flankers. They were I can't remember the names. Sukhoi or something like that, but I don't remember. But they weren't just like, you know, we used the trainers and the original Top Gun. They actually pulled these guys out. So pretty cool.
I like it.
All right, Eric. We are at 1,500 views waiting for this U.S. military history.
Well, Jake's going to love it.
I'm not gonna know it.
Jake is going to love it.
You might know it. You never know. You might.
I might. All right.
So, U.S. Navy fighter pilot Dave Batson was aggressively working the flight controls of his F-4 Bravo Phantom.
Okay.
In response to direction from his radar interceptor officer, Rob DeMorris, to optimize their position to launch an AIM Sparrow missile, AIM-7, based on the steering cues in his radar scope.
Right.
The date is June 17th, 1965.
Okay.
They were feet dry over land about 40 miles south of Hanoi. Their Phantom was doing more than 500 knots, having flown an intercept for more than 30 nautical miles. And now, in close, things were happening fast.
Ooh.
Yeah. On the radio, Batson's flight leader suddenly called out MiGs. Batson was ready. The pilot squeezed the trigger, and for the first time in his life, a missile roared off its rails on his fighter. Jack David Batson grew up in Buffalo, New York, set his sights on flying, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, let's go to the mission.
Ooh.
Batson said the first time he saw a Phantom, it was
yeah,
you know. So he finally gets to the Phantom and the squadron. And on this day in 1965, him and his Rio were the first guys to launch a missile off an F-4 because the guns were gone, and it was the first kill with a missile.
Really?
Yep, in the Vietnam War coming off an F-4.
And they did register a kill with that missile.
Yep.
Look at that.
Whoa.
Wow,
That's
the
a
first
good one, man.
They were part of the operational squadron, the Freelancers, which was VF-21. And they freaking crushed. Yeah. So they lost their gun.
Good, man.
Back then, the Navy leaders had been seduced by the promise of push-button combat, missile scoring kills, and eliminating the need for close-in maneuvering. It was no surprise that the F-4 training squadrons emphasized radar intercepts at the expense of dogfighting. But that was the first kill, F-4, with a missile. Booyah.
The Navy
got back, he goes,
it.
You know how easy that was, guys? We should be doing this all the time.
Yep.
I barely saw him.
What is this gunning thing and this air fighting?
He was 30 miles away.
Pull the trigger.
Pushed the button, and I got him.
Boy, if I had a button with the
like,
Top
isn't
Gun
it?
theme on there, that would have been perfect, man.
Yeah.
The
Navy
story's
calls
really
it
cool.
Fighter Weapons School.
Yeah,
It goes way into it. But they
pilot's
scored
college.
the first MiG kills over Vietnam with missiles, which was pretty damn
That's
cool.
what was the date? Today's date?
Today's date, 1965.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I don't know where you get this from, but you do such a good job. You should have been
time,
doing this from the
Eric.
beginning.
You
You know, when you were before your retirement, you were worthless.
No way.
Since you've retired, you blossomed.
Well, I try to find
just like he
multiple
predicted,
things.
though. He goes, "Oh, I'll have so much time and effort," and we were giving him shit
that only
because
took
he
a
was
year.
spending it all day at the golf course.
At the golf course.
Evidently, he's
A
doing
man does
4
have a
hours of
life.
research a week.
He's really grown into the role.
Really
Well,
thrown in.
and I like doing it because
It's
there's so much
showing.
crap. You would not believe how much shit I've learned
And,
from reading about
you're
different
right.
things.
And
Yeah.
there's so much like there's that one website that just goes by date. It's very
Yeah.
dry. It's very boring. But if you can go off of that and you can find other little events like this, you know, it doesn't have to be like, oh, on this date, Gettysburg happened. On this date, we got the first MiG kill from an F-4 using an air-to-air. That's pretty badass.
Yep.
That's really good.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like
that's
it.
really good.
That's what I mean. These little things are popping up. It's really nice.
I know who's getting Employee of the Month.
I got the good conduct.
Well, we'll see how he does over the next couple of weeks. Oh, he's not going to be here. Oh, fuck.
Oh. Guess who's back in first?
You are.
You're not going to be here either, Dick.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Oh my goodness.
For the 103rd month in a row, I guess it's me. So
We'll give Anna a call.
Yeah.
She'll stand in for us.
I'm going back
she
to
is-
the motherland.
Anna and Juan have been so incommunicado. It's almost like they're.
Like,
I don't
when
know
they
what
take a
happened.
break, they're not.
Yeah,
calling
they need that break. They need to refresh. So. Shall we end up? That was a good one, man. That was a fun episode.
Fun.
I liked it.
It was good. Very good. Again, we had 100 subscribers. If we made you laugh, just give us something.
Oh.
Thumbs up. Just something. To make it
Just a laugh is worth
just
it.
something. Right.
Something.
On behalf of all of us here, I'd like to thank you for listening today. Please like, share, and subscribe, and let us know how we did in the comments. And make sure next week that you are not
late for changeover.
Yep. Nice.
Man, thanks for the week. A belated Happy Father's Day. And
Well,
everyone listening and watching, thanks for watching and listening. And we'll see you next week.
right on. Very cool,
Yeah.
fellas.